All righty, there we are. Just want to make sure I was there. All right. Welcome to Coffee Tea with me every week. I sit down with entrepreneurs, business leaders of all types, and we talk about issues that I think are critically important. I take all those issues from the questions that I get from business leaders and entrepreneurs from all over the world, and there are some topics that I've been inspired to talk about, which I'm going to share a little bit about that today in result of the series that we're in. We are in the series that's called the 9 steps to mastery, doing everything that you can do to increase your professional relationships. This is a critically important time for entrepreneurs and business leaders of all types to be better at producing what they need to produce from professional relationships. Getting to trust has never been more difficult or more vitally important to success. When people come together, they need to be able to share meaningful information and meaningful contacts. In order to do that, there has to be a reservoir of trust that allows them to create those kinds of opportunities. And so, what I find lacking most of all in developing new or even continuing or creating new opportunities within existing professional relationships is people's lack of ability to execute. As a coach, these are things that are vitally important because I realize that if you cannot execute, you simply cannot win. And you can't win in any game you're playing. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do or how you're trying to do it. I'm going to make sure I'm not ignoring somebody that I really need to be paying attention to right now. Okay. So I'll put that phone on mute, and that way we can get back to the party. As I was saying earlier, execution is a critical step to creating anything that you want to create when it comes to success for yourself. Um, Quite frankly, whatever we do, we need to know how to get it done. It has to be able to be something that not only can we produce what we need to produce, create what we need to create, but see the results of it and grab the benefits. And it's increasingly difficult in today's world. In today's, we're dealing with several pandemics. We're dealing with economic pandemic related to COVID-19, which is a physical health pandemic. We're also dealing with a racial pandemic that's built on years of division and insensitivity to the struggles of others. Anybody who we would deem an other is a part of that struggle. And these things need to change for the betterment of humanity if we're going to save the planet from the other pandemic, which is the pandemic that's affecting our environment. Um, we must do better. We have to do better. And a part of us doing better is being better with each other, learning how to build these professional relationships and how to maintain them, how to nurture them, and how to create opportunity with them. And so, the science is in on this idea, guys. We already know that 85% of all success when it comes to people is brought about not because of their knowledge, skills, and ability. That's about 15% of the success measurement. The rest of it is all relationships. How well you've built the relationships, and you can increase that success factor by another 10%. I mean, you should be 95% successful. If you know what you're talking about, you're good at what you do, you have really good abilities, right? But you have wonderful relationships, and those relationships help you stay accountable for not just what you produce, but who you are as a person. Your integrity, your honor, your trustworthiness has to be wrapped up in all of that. And it's a complicated mix that gets real complicated when you don't have the basic underlying principles at the ready when it comes to figuring out how to work with this stuff and to do it really, really well. And so if you haven't, I encourage you to go back and watch the videos that we've had in the series. This is number 9 of the series. We're going to do 3 more just on part 9 of the series, because execution is probably the most important part. But I want you to know we've already walked you through the steps from how to initiate first contact in a relationship, a professional relationship, how to move that contact from getting to know you, and there's 3 steps in that phase, and then becoming partners and getting to like one another. There's another 3 steps in that phase, and then we're moving into the final phase of the last 3 steps, which is really, really ramping up the trust and being able to take it to the next level when it comes to your professional relationships and introducing them to one another and creating synergy with people that you have recruited and identified as potential parts of your network. And now that you've recruited them and now that you've created a plan for what you want to do, it's now time to execute. This is the critical time. This is the time that it's so important to get it right, because failure really should not be in something that you have to think about or concern yourself with. Because if your plan is good and your people are good and you know how to execute, you should be on the trajectory of 95% success. As I said earlier, 95%, that's a pretty high possibility or probability of success. If you've done everything right, then you're going to do well. So now you have to execute well. That's why I'm going to spend 3 weeks talking about that. In the first week, we're going to just set up the rules. The basic rules of execution are things that are critical for all of us to understand when we have to work even by ourselves or with other people. You just have to know these rules are universal, and they don't go away. So you can't ignore them, because like with any other rules that you may play in a game, they're based on some solid foundational principles. And if you break these rules, then you're going to basically fail. And if you don't want to fail, you're going to follow these rules. So we're talking about execution here, and that's getting it done. Getting done whatever it is that you need to get done to move yourself and your team and your organization forward. You have to be good at this. And there is no if, ands, or but about it. You can't learn it without actually getting your hands in and actually working on the process. You can't learn execution by osmosis. You can't just sleep on a book one day and wake up and know how to be excellent in execution. But there are some key steps that I'm going to share with you that I think you're going to find enlightening. So for those of you who have access to the computer, you're looking at me through the computer right now, you're probably going to be able to see in the chat box the document that I'm going to use for the next couple of weeks to really discuss and explore this thing we call execution. And I want you to kind of go along with me on this journey and really delve into what execution is, and more importantly, what execution is not. So when we think of execution, you can have just 1,000 different thoughts about what it means and how it means to you and what it means to you. And I'm not going to bore you with every possible definition and every possible iteration of this thought as we talk about this. But I do want you to share with you mine and what I've been able to come up with based on the research, based on what's available out there from the great literature that's out there. And for those of you who know me, know I study emotional intelligence and social intelligence quite a bit, and how effective leaders use these tools to create what they need to create. Right now I'm doing a white paper on charisma and what charismatic leaders do with exception that make them so successful. Only the successful ones, though. I'm not really studying those who just have charisma, but they don't have what it takes to actually execute, because you need more than charisma to execute. That's just a communication strategy, communication style when it all boils down to. But we'll talk about more about that in future presentations, right? Because I don't let the cat out of the bag. I want you to be able to get in deep with that, and really, really understand a lot about it. So when we talk about execution, what are we talking about? We're talking about the ability to be effective, the ability to produce, the ability to be efficient, the ability to perform at a level of expertise that others will accept and tolerate and consider done. Good. All right, it's spot on. It's what you were supposed to do. It's what you were expected to do. It's done. It's a fait accompli. It's done, right? So you want to be able to execute. You want to be able to get there. And you want to be able to get there well. You want to be able to do a good job. But there's two real elements of execution that I think you got to pay attention to. The first element is performance, right? You actually have to carry out the action that you're trying to do. You actually have to do the instructions, work along the plan, make the commands, move forward, do whatever you have to do to get the job done. All right. That's a part of performance. If you don't do what you have to do to get the job done, then you're not performing, right? But if you do what you have to do to get the job done, then you are, in fact, performing. But there's another part of excellence that I'm going to say is equally as important as getting the job done. And here's why. Style, which is that second part of execution, is as equally important because it's something that gives you the gift of your own individual or group's unique differential advantage. What makes you special comes out in your style. Your style plugs into the senses, plugs into the emotions. Your style plugs into how people feel about what you do. So how you do what you do matters because people are going to feel based on your style of presentation, your style of delivery, your style of acceptance. Even when you're taking a check or taking a payment, everything that you do that's a part of your execution strategy that accomplishes whatever you're trying to accomplish is a matter of style, not just performance. And how that style, how that performance is perceived has to do with how someone else is already emotionally and psychologically predisposed to understand or believe. Now, there's a lot of things you can do from a style perspective to mistreat people. There's a lot of things you could do to manipulate people versus influence people. They're going to sound like the same techniques. I've done this work already, but I want you to understand that the difference between manipulation and influence both cause action to happen, right? But the difference between the two is intent. If you intend to do something and you intend to create win-win solutions, or you intend to serve others in a way that they like to be served, or you intend to create opportunities for others to serve, these things are good. You have a moral, honorable intention, right? But if your intent is to take from someone else, manipulate someone else, squeeze them into something that they may or may not appreciate for your temporary benefit, then you're a manipulator and you're not working from a high moral ground. So when you talk about execution, you really got to talk about performance and style respectively, because if you don't, you're going to miss a large part of what it takes to grow as a professional, a large part of what it takes to achieve and to continue to achieve. It's easy to hit lightning in a bottle every once in a while. It's easy to do the things to appear to do the things that you should do by the quarter. Hard to sustain the growth trajectory and the movement forward for a lifetime. And that's the kind of execution I'm talking about. I'm talking about sustainable execution. So let me start the framework, the first couple rules. The first few rules are about performance. And then the last rule we're going to talk about are about style. So let's talk about rule number one. Rule number one. I'm going to frame this in everything in the performance series we're going to talk about, all the rules in the performance series. I'm going to frame this with a quote by Ralph Marston. And here it is. Marston says, don't lower your expectations to meet your performance, but raise your level of performance to meet your expectations. Expect the best of yourself, and then do what is necessary to make that a reality. I'll read that to you again. Don't lower your expectations to meet your performance. Raise your level of performance to meet your expectations. Expect the best of yourself, and then do what is necessary to make it a reality. The best that you have to deliver, the best that you can bring to the table, the best that you can find and recruit, the best that you can invest and pay for, the best. If you expect the best always and consistently, you're going to continue to grow. You're going to continue to elevate. I'm going to give you some exercises later on how to continue this moving forward and creating a high level of expectation for yourself a little later on. But I want you to hang in there with that idea. Now, rule number one in the performance series is you have to take responsibility to create and maintain your own will to succeed. There's no one that can do this for you. There's no one that should do this for you. If your will to succeed, if your will or desire to move forward comes from somewhere other than your innate drive, then I think you got some work to do back in the planning mode when you were talking about your vision and your mission and the things, your purpose and the reasons why you're doing the things that you're doing. I think you gotta go back and straighten that stuff out, because you cannot take responsibility for stuff that doesn't belong to you. You can't take responsibility for an idea or a movement or a process that you are not a part of the creation of. It's very, very important. It's very important. Yes, you can take orders and you can do what somebody wants you to do, but that's not yours. That's theirs. And when it comes to execution, yes, you can meet their expectations, but you might not be meeting yours. And I'm going to tell you that if you're not meeting your own expectations to what you need to do, because you don't have any, that's a part of rule number one. You have to be responsible to create and maintain your own desires, your own drives, your own will. This is very difficult. I remember, watching episodes, and I'm ashamed to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I've been watching episodes of Iyanla Vanzant, right? Her program, I forget what the name of the program is, but one of her famous statements that I use all the time is, you need to ask yourself, are you doing the work? Do you know who you are? Do you know what you bring to the table? Do you know why you exist? In previous discussions, we've talked about Kawaida theory, which is the theory that Maulana Karenga brought to us in discovering ancient African philosophy. And one of the things that he said that ancient Africans will always do, they will always ask these three questions. Who am I? Am I really who I say I am? And am I all that I ought to be? And if you can reckon with these questions, you can figure out what it is it takes to motivate you. You can figure out what it takes, what your desires are, what your wishes are, what your dreams and aspirations are. You can figure out what effort that you are willing to put forward to do what it is you need to do. But you got to do some soul searching. You got to do that work. You got to ask those questions. Rule number 2, when you dream big, you win even bigger. This is something that you simply have to accept. You got to dream big. You got to dream. There's no way for you to win big if you don't dream big, if you don't think big, if you don't think about the greatness that you could move yourself into. If you don't think about what you're going to be able to be, do, or have as a result of accomplishing the things that you wish to accomplish, then I got a feeling you haven't done the work. You haven't really thought through what it is you're trying to accomplish or why. And it's going to make it really difficult for you to get there. It's going to be really difficult to you to know even if you're performing well or if you're executing well, because you don't have a trajectory. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what you're aiming for. And you've got to have that vision, and you've got to be able to articulate that vision in such a way, such a meaningful way, such a powerful way, that other people on your team are going to be inspired by it. They have to be connected to it. It has to be a part of them, so they feel like they're doing something and moving towards something that they want to move towards as well. Because the alternative is less than a collaborative effort. The alternative means that the people who are with you for their own. They're not with you for the reasons that you're all collectively agreeing about. They're with you for reasons that there's their own selfish desires, their own selfish reasons. And that might work. You might be able to carrot and stick them a little ways, towards the next quarter, next half a year, whatever that is. But the last thing you want is to have a whole bunch of people around you, people on your team, who don't dream big. People who insist on thinking small, or don't have the capability of dreaming big, become a liability to an organization, because they won't have the internal drive. They won't have the mechanism to get better. They won't have the mechanisms inside of them to create more. They won't even desire to create more. They're going to settle is what they're going to do. That's the very definition of settling. Just thinking about, this is the limited amount that I can do, so I'm going to do this this much, and I'm not going to grow any more than that. That's settling, and as far as I'm concerned, there's no room for settling in the world of entrepreneurship or small business leadership, because if you get to that point where you're settling, then you probably should retire, sell the business, move on to something else, because you're going to start to quickly become ineffective. You're going to start to quickly become ineffective as a leader. You're going to start to quickly become ineffective as an organization. Your products and services are going to be ruled as not worthy at some point. You're going to start getting bad reviews in places that you want to get good reviews. You're going to start to experience loss, and you're going to start to financial loss, as well as the loss of the connectivity of you, your clients, and maybe your partners or your friends or associates. It's going to get lonely out there, because life moves forward. People progress, people grow, and you have to grow with it. You can't grow in front of it, but you got to grow with it. If you grow with it, then you're gonna be good. If you grow behind it, if you let yourself get left behind, that is really what it is. It's left behind. It's the key to isolationism, and it's the key to trying to do it all by yourself and failing miserably over and over and over and over again, and self-doubt and self-hate and all the negative things that happen as a result of you not dreaming big. You gotta dream big. Rule number three. You have to plan your strategy until it feels like destiny. When I say destiny, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, whatever it is you're trying to do with you and your team, you need to have this conversation. And this conversation will allow everybody to follow the rules number 1 and 2. Number 1, it's like, so if you really want people to think big, ask the question. As a leader, as a facilitator, ask the question: when this is all said and done, when we've reached the mountaintop, when we've achieved the thing we want to achieve, who are we going to be? What are we going to be different? How are we going to be different? What are we going to do differently? What are we going to experience that's going to feel good, that we're going to be appreciative of, that we're going to be able to say, this is a legacy that we built? What is it that is so powerful and purposeful and intentional that you feel like it's your destiny to do, to complete? This is the good stuff. This is the stuff that literally appeals to all of our senses and makes us have that sense of awe and wonder. And it's going to present for us a sense of responsibility to honor the purpose that we're trying to engage in. Whatever we're trying to do, if it feels like destiny, if we've planned it so well that we can't see any obstacles that we can't overcome, we can't see any things that have surfaced in the planning portions that might be detrimental to our success. Everything is an opportunity. That's what destiny feels like. That's what destiny planning feels like. It feels like everything is an opportunity. It feels like everything you can imagine doing, right down on a piece of paper, you better start seeing it in the charts, whatever it is you grasp, whatever it is you got to put together, you start to see the reality of it. You start to want to have it now. It provides that sense of fulfillment to even know that it's going to happen because it's destiny. I want you all to experience that. I want everybody who gets an opportunity to experience that, to experience it. What it feels like to have an idea, a thought that's so well done and so well articulated and so well planned, the strategies and techniques and tactics are all there. Man, there's no stopping you once that's there. Once that's there, the only reason for you to stop is for some unseen natural disaster to occur. And then at that point, it would be impossible for you to be ready enough for it. And I'm sure all of you all know that there are certain political, economic, and natural issues that pop up in life that no matter what you plan, or you just cannot prepare for the experience of an economic crisis like we're in right now, or the mortgage bubble when it bursted, right? We saw it happening, but we didn't know the depth of the financial disaster it would cause. So think about that. Plan your strategy until it feels like destiny, because it's an awesome feeling. It's an awesome opportunity to be, do, and have more. And if you start working on this collectively with your team, which I highly suggest that you collaborate on these thoughts and these ideas as a part of your planning process, do it there. I think you're going to figure out, you're going to find really quickly that people have really wild and out there dreams and fantasies and opportunities. But when you put them together and you all agree on what you all collectively want to be and do as a team, you're going to keep each other motivated. You're going to keep each other accountable. You're going to keep each other moving forward. It's going to be great. One of my favorite rules is rule number 4, because this is tactical.
Please charge battery. Please charge battery.
This is a tactical situation. And in rule number 4, it's about making sure that you understand the sequence of events that have to flow in your plan. And know that there's going to be certain tasks, certain stopping points, certain issues that are in your plan that are going to be easy to do. And I'm going to suggest that you do those easy things right away. As soon as you get started, knock those easy things out. Even if those things are out of sequence in the entire plan. Here's why. When you do the easy things first, you begin to build momentum. You begin to build a fire in yourself and in your team that you're feeling and achieving, and you're being successful right up front. Every new program, every new plan, every new strategy, every new everything that you're going to try to do with yourself and your team is going to look like an elephant. It's going to look huge. But you know what they say, how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time. I'm going to go, take a bite of the stuff that's easiest to take a bite of, right? If the elephant's standing, you want to take a bite of the legs. You don't want to climb up to the top of the elephant and try to take a bite on the big side, right? So it's very difficult. You do the easy thing first. And then as you move forward, knock out the other things that are in the sequence, right? This is probably flies in the face of everything I think a lot of you have learned in business school or strategy or leadership strategy or whatever that is. But I want you to think through the fact that, we're not just talking about achieving tasks. We're talking about making sure that the emotional support that you need to continue the trajectory of achievement is in place and is well done. It's moving forward. I'm not saying to do things out of order that's going to hamper you later on. The things that are not going to, it's going to be easy things you can just knock out and just go to put it to the side and come back and pick it up when you need it because it's already done. Those are the things I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the things that if you do them now, they're going to go bad or it's not going to work. It's going to be because it needs to be in the sequence, right? So don't get that twisted. I know a lot of you are project managers and stuff like that, program managers out there. You're like, oh my God, we gotta get it out of sequence. Like, yeah, you can handle it. Do the easy thing, figure out what's easiest first, and go ahead and knock those out. As long as you have those things done as a team, then you're gonna feel like you're winning already from the beginning of your strategy, no matter what that is. So those are the first four aspects of execution, and they go along the route of performance. Number one, be responsible to create and maintain your will to succeed. Number two, when you dream big, you win even bigger. Number three, plan your strategy until it feels like destiny, and then there's no way out. Number four, if it's not urgent, do it now. Go ahead and get it done. Now, the next part of the next few rules, and there's only two, is really about style. And when you think about style, I want to couch that and I want you to think about some of the most important things that you've ever felt when it comes to leaders in your past. There's been leaders who somehow have been able to motivate you to do things that even you didn't know for a fact that you could do. There's been leaders that maybe you've dealt with in the past, and teachers or professors or bosses that have been able to stretch you with a little stress because fear of the unknown is always stressful, but then help you to realize that you haven't barely scratched the surface of your potential. And they've been able to do that because of the style of leadership, because of the support they've been able to give you, because of what they've been able to help you see in yourself that you may not have seen previous to their connection with you. So style has a really, as a leader, it matters a lot. It matters that you don't do things in a way that's going to make your people around you crazy. You want them to be crazy good, not crazy. You don't want them to their performance to be diminished by something you said or did that created hesitation or fear. You want to try to remove those things. And so I think a lot of that is captured in these two quotes that I want to share with you. One by Paul Klee and the other by Arthur Schopenhauer. Klee says, he has found his style when he cannot do otherwise. He has found his style when he cannot do otherwise. It just feels right. It feels like it's the only way it must be done. Schopenhauer says, style is what gives value and currency to thoughts. That one's a deep one. I love that one. Because your own individual, your thoughts are your own. They're your own individual thoughts. And it's not until they show up in your behavior that you can get credit for it, right? It's not until they show up in your behavior that other people can appreciate it or respect it. It's not until it shows up in your thoughts, show up in your behavior, that your uniqueness, your gifts, your talents, your initial concepts can be then used and developed and deployed by others. So you don't win anything by holding back, the effort, the time, the talent, the treasure that you can bring to the table. You don't win anything that way. In fact, all you really have when you hold back is a lack of growth. You're slowing down that trajectory. We talked about that earlier. You're slowing down that purpose. You're making it more difficult for yourself and for others because you're playing humble, or you're keeping secrets, or you're hiding your capabilities that can be used for whatever reason. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's you think it's out of place because your job description says blah blah blah, and that's all you're going to do. I think you take the gloves off, take the limits off yourself. I think that there's so much more that's there than what fits in the job description. And you knowing what those things are, what that talent is very, very important. To be able to express it is critical to your feeling of worth and dignity and pride. So let's go through the rules. Rule number 5, we're talking about style again, is practice until you own your own processes. Practice until you own the process. As a professional, as a team, you need to sleep, eat, and breathe the process. Whatever process or procedure you've worked out, planned to engage in to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish, you need to be so thorough in your understanding and your execution, your abilities to do it. You got to practice that. You got to rehearse that so that it's second nature. So you don't have to think about it. You can just do it. When you can do that, when you've had that, when you've worked that procedure out, all right, as a team, as a collective, then and only then can you begin that process of innovation, of making it better. Because you'll have the mental space to create on something that you've already developed a level of expertise in. It's difficult while you're learning to do something, while you're learning to and engaging in a process. It's very difficult for you to see a way to make it better in the midst of trying to understand it, right? You have to totally understand it from soup to nuts, from beginning to end, right? So that you can then fully embrace whatever it is and then go, okay, haha, now I see ways that it can be improved. I want to communicate that to my team or to my people. I think there are ways that we can make this even more efficient, more effective. And remember, we're talking about performance when it's all said and done. Execution, we want to be efficient, we want to be effective, and we want to get it done. We want to get it done well with our own sense of style. That's where that creativity comes in. That's where that innovation comes in. Wait a minute. I see that it's always been done this way. This is the way we're planning to do it, but I see a better way. Now that I understand it completely, now that I'm thoroughly immersed in whatever the old way or the planned way is, I can now see a better way. Now, as a leader, if you're not seeing the better way, but somebody else is seeing the better way, because you practice so well, I want to implore you to listen to that person. Listen to that idea. Don't get so set in the program or the process that you're inflexible, because this level of innovation and creativity can make all the difference in the world. In fact, I want you to plan for it. I want you to plan for your team to add some stuff to the process that might make the process better or might feel better to them. But I want you to leave room for that in your plan, because all plans are soft until you start to rehearse them, until you start to practice them, until you start to, and they become, more refined as you begin to see what's working and what's not working. Some things you want to cut out, you want to leave out because you just can't, you're not going to be able to do it within the time frame you have. And some stuff you want to embrace because it's going to increase the intensity and the quality of whatever it is that you're producing. And so you want to make sure as you're running through, you're doing the run through, right? As you're running through, you want to assess what's working, what's not working, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be changed, what innovations other people might bring to the table, what creativity might come out of this, and then make the adjustments. Because you follow rule number 6, remember, practice until you own your own process. It's the key to real innovation. Then that's also the key to your style. It's also key to you having a style. You can be playing the same game. Football is football, right? You can have, you have your lineup, you have your defense, you have your offense, and they're all playing basically the same defensive and offensive strategies that have been worked out for years. But somebody has a better twitch response to the ball when it gets snapped. And they're able, because of that, to move in a direction that others have never seen happen before, at a speed and intensity that others have never seen happen before. They don't have a defense for it. And so that's going to be a winning play because of the individual connection. Everybody who has seen this play, right? Famous play was a fleet flicker, right? The famous football strategy play. Maybe they've seen it happen all the time. They know how to perfectly execute that fleet flicker. But there might be something unique and something special on your team that from practice and rehearsal, you figure out that they can change this play, this traditional play that we've all seen executed over and over and over again for years, to something different that's uniquely them, that no one can see coming. This is how you create winning strategy, by being willing to be flexible and innovative all the time in all areas of execution. As long as you have the time and the space to do so, you should allow that to happen. In fact, plan to have that happen as you move forward. Rule number 6. I love rule number 6 because rule number 6 is extra personal. All of the rules are personal. Rule number 6 is real personal. The rule number 6 is about character and understanding that your character is measured by what you do, yes, but even more by how you do it. And how you do whatever you do is informed by your values, the principles that you honor, the integrity that you have, and the gifts that you share. So when I talk about character with people, I'm often talking about what it takes to move people forward, what it takes for people to begin to understand more about how they do what they do and why they do what they do. Because when you're executing a process, a plan, or whatever, your feelings, your emotions, the things that you think about it, they're gonna come out. If you're executing some plan that you think is a stink bomb, it's not going to work, or it's really stupid the way it's been done, it's going to show up in your behavior. It's going to show up on your face. It's going to show up in the things that you decide to, the meetings you even attend, or the way you attend those meetings, what you do. And that's going to matter. Because if you're not on board, it's going to show up. It's going to leak out. People are going to see you acting out in ways that you probably didn't want them to see you acting out in, or that you shouldn't want them to see you acting out in, really. And it's a testament to your character. If something is being done that you can't do with integrity and intensity and commitment, then you shouldn't be on that team. You should let it go. As a leader, if you can't bring honor and respect to the task at hand, to the people that are working with you, you got to let it go. You got to change it. You have to find that moment where you can, or you got to let it go. Because I think that the cost is everything that we are experiencing now in our nation that we could have controlled, but we didn't in the past. I'm not going to get into the depth of that, but understand, character matters. It matters a great deal in every iteration of everything that human beings do, because inside a character is our ability to trust each other. It's our ability to understand and honor each other's integrity. And when it's not there, it's painful. It always causes chaos. It always causes us to be fearful and to not do the things that we're put here to do. We won't achieve your destiny. You won't even get close to it. When your character's bad, no one will believe in you long enough. No one will trust you long enough. No one will engage with you, go deep with you, play with you. You'll be all alone, isolated, and that is the recipe for death. A book that I highly suggest, if you haven't already read it or gotten involved with it, is this one. It's Loneliness by Dr. Dan Cassiopo. John Cassiopo, I'm sorry. Had a chance to speak with Dr. Cassiopo before he passed. It's just a great man. If you can watch his TED Talk, I'll try to post that into the chat when we go into the Q&A section. If you can watch his TED Talk, I promise you, your life will be lifted and you'll understand the cost of a bad character, because it always leads to loneliness, isolation, and death. All right. So there's some exercises that I'm going to suggest that you engage in, and they're already written in the program. Some of them are more difficult than others. But I want to talk to you about some of these exercises because I think that they're critical to setting up what you need to set up to really go deep with your execution strategy. And so you'll get where I'm coming from as I read them to you. So we got some more time. Let's talk about them. There's only 8 questions that I want you to think through and exercises I want you to think through. Maybe if you do some of them between now and next week, we have some great discussion, right? Some things to talk about, some things to tweak and see what works and what didn't work. I want you to list the areas in your life where you are experiencing phenomenal success. I mean, whatever it is that I know it's difficult now because we're all dealing with so much, but think about the areas of your life where you're actively experiencing success. It could be relationships. It could be you're doing well spiritually, mentally, emotionally, socially. It could be I'm doing well at, my relationship with my parents or my friends, or it could be any host of things, right, that you are experiencing success in. And in those things, I want you to sort of think it through and assess where you're particularly strong, where you're particularly competent. What do you bring to the table that has created that success? What have you contributed? And what do you consistently contribute that creates that success? Is it the time you've spent? Is it the talent you've been able to hone and achieve? Is it the investment that you've made? In some way that been a contributor to that success. And I want you to sort of note that too. And then I want you to think through what it might take for you to become even better at that thing. A great way, I think I've asked this question before, and I'm going to ask it again. I'll probably ask it later on in the questions. A way to think about that is, if you were to take this talent, this gift, this skill, this ability, and just magnify it to you are the one of the well-known experts in it, whatever it is, what could happen for you? Number two question is like, what would you be able to be, do, or have, right, that you can't right now? Start listing those things out. You take these sets of talents and these gifts and you put them, like my daughter would say, on fleek, and they grow to the maximum level. What could change in your life because of it? What would happen if someone would take your idea of how to move a process along and really invest in that idea and help you patent it and move it forward so that it's a signature part of the industry that you belong to? What could that mean to you in your life? So what you think about that. And I want you, not to be afraid to dream big. The key in this exercise is not to put any limit on your potential. Just go out there. If you were the number one, if you were the best in the world at whatever this thing is, what could be there for you? What could you do differently? I want you to put yourself in that headspace, and I want you to dream that big. It's okay to dream that big, because a lot of times I think we don't, because we're fearful, like, oh, that means I'm going to have to move, or that means I'm going to have to make an investment, or that means I'm going to have to, change something that I don't want to change, so I don't even think about it. And I'm going to tell you that's the shackles that you've put on yourself. There's no shackles on thinking, on dreaming. There's no restrictions on that. There's no boundaries. There's no right, wrong. There's no nothing. It doesn't require anything except your thinking. So allow yourself to think there, because you might find there are some things you actually can do to move you forward. Like number 3, list who might benefit from understanding and implementing your new idea, your new concept that might help you shape or share your newfound valuable insights to something. Because just think through, if you've got an idea that can revolutionize an industry, somebody's leading that industry right now. It might be willing to help you, support you, invest in that idea, or at least give you the time to help you flesh it out, tell you which way you might want to go. Those are people you want to list out. Who are the people who can help you get there? What advisors, what consultants, what coaches, maybe sometimes what therapists, can help you, mentors that can move you forward. List those people out, and then go ahead and contact them and begin the process of relationship with them. If you do this really, really well, you're going to start to build a network of people that are engaged in your success. And that's going to be different than the network that you currently have. The network that you currently have, you just have it. But the network that you built on purpose to help you grow and get to where you need to go, that's a network that when you contribute to it, it's going to contribute back to you in the most meaningful of ways. And so you understanding who those people might be, listing them out, identifying them, and then starting to build those relationships is critical. It's critical. Now, there's some other exercises that I suggest you go through and take a look at over the next series of weeks. But, these are things that can help you execute on a high level. Next week, we're going to begin to talk about how you develop the execution mindset within other professional relationships that you have, other associates that you have. That's going to help you as a leader put the right people on the field and the right people on the bench and move forward. I'm excited to talk to you about those things because I know that when it's all said and done, if you have the right people with you, you can do amazing things. If you have the wrong people with you that don't understand the 6 rules that I just shared with you, and they don't understand how you intend to use these 6 rules to move yourself and the team forward, then I think you're missing a great leadership opportunity because you're not going to be able to share with your people, your friends, your team members, your associates in the right way that's going to invite them to be a participant in your greatness and their own greatness. Okay, that's all I want to talk about today. I'm going to stop yammering on and see if there's any questions or any thoughts out there. I really appreciate you. So I see you out there, Scott. I appreciate that. My buddy Scott shows up and hangs out with me quite a bit, and I really appreciate that. Darren came through for a minute. He threw the like button up. I saw you, Darren. And it's great that, I have friends and connections and associates who are with me even during the live sessions, and I know a lot more people attend the recordings. I mean, thousands of people go back and they listen to you and they go through these recordings when I post them on YouTube and on Facebook. And so don't be afraid to ask a question if you're out there and you want to learn more, or there's something that I said that you need to discover more. And feel free, by the way, to, even after this is posted, keep posting stuff in the comment section because I will pay attention to it. And if there's a question that you have that you think needs an answer or a thought that you want to share, feel free to share it. I might mention it on our next video. I might mention it on the next post. Until next week, if I don't see any other questions in the chat box, I'm going to roll out. It's good to see you guys. Good to participate. I had fun. I hope you will too. And if you need something, if you need to talk about something or share something, feel free to reach out. My number is everywhere, so you can always find me at 703-201-4267. Oh, and don't forget to like this on Facebook if you're watching it on Facebook, or join the Facebook page, or if you're watching it on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Right? I really appreciate that, because that allows me to stay in contact with you and allow me to receive the feedback from you that I desperately want. I want that feedback. So if I said something or did something that resonated with you, or shared something with you that resonated with you, please, let me know, because, I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to try to do more of that. Let me know what resonated with you and why. I'm very interested in that, because I want to grow as a professional, as a coach, and I want to help others grow. And it's been the blessing, the gift of my life, to be able to contribute so meaningfully into the world and the life of small businesses. So I'm looking forward to doing more. Thank you all for your time and your attention. I look forward to hanging out with you again next week. This is Coach Powell signing off.